You could tell right away that the Grand Council Chamber of the Galactic Deathworlders Association, GDA, was able to transmit whilst signaling of up to 150 different species that thought they were the most dangerous things, since quantum black holes were over the top and fake. It was about as quiet as a supernova in a storage closet. High Admiral Zex Thor of the KTH Empire was lying down and his exoskeleton was shining in the dramatic lighting of the chamber. He was busy picking his teeth with a ceremonial AG, because that's what people do when they want to look scary, apparently. "In front of your fellow Deathworld representatives," said Nixtera, the Supreme Court Chief. Her 4 sets of teeth clicked together in a way that she probably thought was authoritative. The people inside the chamber globally actively turned off their different displays to show dominance, which mostly involved flexing extra limbs and releasing threatening pheromone. The meeting of the Galactic Deathworlders Association in 47293 is now going on. Enex Satara kept her bioluminescent patches glowing with pride. First thing we needed to do was keep our information up to date. As a group groan went through the lists of the deadliest species in known space, in the chamber, these rankings didn't mean much more than a vacuum suit made of toilet paper. But they took more time to make them. Discussing them more than enforcing anything, I moved the kilogram to the top spot. Zethor said, "We recently got better at shooting, which shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. Acid from our secondary throats, Ambassador YXL of the Moraka Hive barely." They held back laughter that sounded like rocks being ground up in a garbage disposal. "Oh, please, we've been breaking down our prey with acid since before your species learned how to stand up straight, and the fanatics clearly deserve to be at the top. They can literally blow up whenever they want and fix themselves," the fanatic said. The representative, who was already there as a shimmering cloud of deadly gas to show off the chamber, erupted into chaos as each species tries to outdo the others by making more and more ridiculous claims about how deadly their abilities. The Drachnid delegate started juggling plasma balls, and the Nexos representative started making threats, interpretive dance, and then someone in the back began singing the war cry of their species, which sounded like a fighting with a garbage disposal and a kazoo. Chancellor Ninara hit a ceremonial staff on the ground, which would have been more impressive if it hadn't been broken by her boss. "We are strong enough. We are the galaxy's top predators. We should act with more honor," Zex muttered, "says the species that hunts by throwing up on its prey." Thor was just loud enough to be heard before Natara could defend her species. These are all perfectly acceptable ways to hunt. A junior aide walked into the room, and their anxiety was so intense that it was enough to kill the plants that were there for decoration. "Representatives, we picked up a strange signal from an area that hasn't been explored yet. The chamber went quiet except for..." The fanatic representative, who was still showing off by making small explosion sounds, told Nick Satara to try to look strong while holding her broken staff. What message did the aide's nervous color spots send? Of ultraviolet light. It looks like music. It's called "Never Going to Give You Up." The council chamber broke out into chaos when someone named Rick Astley spoke. Multiple species started talking at the same time, making a cacophony that was faster than a quantum reactor with hiccups. It sounded like a wrecking crew having a jazz session. Impossible yelled Zex Thor, accidentally spitting. He was so excited that he got acid on his ceremonial armor. That sector is surrounded by Class 12 radiation belts, so nothing could stop him. Survive there. Found Chancellor Nix Satara leaning forward, with all 6 of her eyes focused on me. She was so excited that he got acid on his ceremonial armor. That's not all we know. Found Chancellor Nix Satara leaning forward with all 6 of her eyes focused on me. "Explain yourself before I asked," she said. You should be put on waste recycling duty." The aide pulled up more information, and their arms and legs were shaking the world. What we'd call a ultra-death world seems to exist. It has everything. Huge temperature changes, regular geological upheavals, harsh weather, and biological weapons are all examples of gravity wells. The fluffy thing they call pollen became just solid enough to raise what could have been an eyebrow. So you're telling us that something intelligent lives there that can send signals? Yes, and they do seem to be using something called social media because they're constantly sending out millions of pictures of cute animals with fur. The council members exchange them, keep them as pets, and call them cats. Glances, which is pretty amazing since some of them don't have eyes in the usual sense. First contact protocols said right away that Latara was trying to sound authoritative while still holding her. A broken staff means that any species that can survive in those conditions must be properly looked at, and ranked the assembly hall, which was full of murmurs of agreement and the occasional threatening show of power. Old habits die hard, especially among the top favorite cat scout fleet. Zex Thor said, puffing up his crystal chest. Our ships are the most weapons, and the least ability to blend in was the most ability. To blend in was the ambassador. We need stealth for this mission, he said. It's clear that Hive Shadow vessels are the better option. Before another argument could start, the help cleared their throat a sound that sounds like an engine that's not working right. In fact, we've already sent probe ships, and the footage you should see for yourself how the holographic screen changed to show different scenes from Earth, watched in stunned silence as people went about their daily lives, doing things that made no sense. How come their council member gasped in shock? She's like, they're willingly getting into a ring to fight for fun, and those little ones are climbing on at a form of entertainment. They're taking in capsaicin, a chemical which is dangerous to botany, metal structures. The creatures are either completely crazy or have abilities we don't fully understand yet. We need more information. Before we make direct contact, our first scans show that the bipeds are mostly harmless looking, kept showing more information about soft external covering. No natural weapons, comparatively weak compared to our species. But what did several council members demand at the same time? But they seem to have developed something that they called technology that makes up for all of their physical flaws. Have a lot of it, and most of it seems to be made to either make things work better or blow them up, or sometimes both. Around the same time, the council chamber fell into a deep silence, broken only by the occasionally tense outbursts from the fanatical representative and finally Chancellor Nix. Cicerina talked, "We will move forward with care. Send in the stealth observers. I want to know everything about these. Humans, before they show us their strengths and weaknesses, their military and political systems, abilities, and most importantly," she paused for dramatic effect to see how these cat videos would rank. So focused on as the council members left to get ready for their own observation missions, none of them saw a small red dot show up on their long-range sensors. It was a human probe, already on their way, broadcasting nothing but non-stop episodes of a show called Rick and Morty. The Galactic Deathworlders Association's first official contact with humans went about as well as it could have. High Admiral Zexer teaching a fanatic how to juggle, which, for those keeping score, usually ends in a lot of explosions. He stood on the bridge of his ship, the Crystalline Devastator, and watched the main viewport show Earth getting bigger. The Council's decision to move slowly, he was able to persuade them that a proper show of force was not possible because how else would these primitive beings know where they fit in the galaxy? Some pressurous and waved his hands away from the planet. Most of them looked like simple ways to communicate, but some are. Zor waved his crystallized hand away and pointed at us, dismissing the worry. Probably very old observation tools use the standard method of scare tactics to move forward with the crystalline devastator, and its escort fleet came out of stealth mode in a show of power that was both impressive and dangerous. Formation above the northern hemisphere of Earth. It was a sight that had amazed many species. People responded by making memes about it and posting them on Twitter, sir. Officer clicked nervously. We're getting thousands of transmissions. Many of them look like they're from something called Tick. Tumblr videos of our ships set to different kinds of music. Before Zexthor could answer, a more official message cut through the chaos, and the crew on the bridge saw a person come into view. Greetings, aliens, on their main screen, sitting at what looked like a desk full of coffee cups and action figures. The person said, "Hello, I'm Dr. Chen from the United Earth Defense Force," but they didn't seem very impressed. "Ships look great, but could you move about 3 deg to the left? You're blocking our Netflix satellite Zexthor's exoskeleton," shocked and angry that you dared to talk about the powerful KTH Empire in such a casual way. "The most dangerous warriors in the galaxy, huh?" Dr. Chen sipped from his coffee cup and said, "Look, we've been watching you. Hey guys, your stealth tech hasn't worked in months. Also, we caught most of your observation ships and invited them to join us." As the grill was turned on, the bridge went silent. The missing observer ships had been a mystery that caused a lot of debate in the council. "You caught our most advanced stealth ships." Zor's voice cracked a little, crash-landed. "While trying to avoid our weather." Captured is a strong word. Zor's voice cracked a little, crash-landed while trying to avoid our weather. They're hooked on something right now. They called cat videos, "Hey Yoist," and wouldn't leave, as if to make their point a second time. There was a transmission that showed several aliens watching a kitten play with a ball of yarn, but Zexthor lost his intimidating air. "You're supposed to be primitive, but you don't even have proper mannerisms." John raised an eyebrow and asked, "Do you mean like your crystalline biological armor evolution was something we thought about, but then we came up with Kevlar and tanks, which are cool, and how do you stay alive in the harsh conditions of your death world, mostly air conditioning and sunscreen? You should give it a try. I saw some UV damage on the port side of your ships." The sensor officer suddenly chirped in fear. "Sir, we can see a lot of small objects coming from the planet's surface." Weapon Zexthor demanded to be tried to calm down. "No, those don't look like tourist buses. They're asking for permission to take selfies." Dr. Chen smiled and said, "Yeah, space tourism is big business now. You might want to move your fleet back a bit. Instagram influencers can be very pushy about getting the perfect picture." Shot Zexer, a powerful warrior of the Cathay Empire and the most dangerous person in the galaxy, species did something he had never done before. He started to question the choices he had made in his life. We will need to talk to him about this. He was able to tell the Galactic Council about this development and say, cool. Dr. Chen agreed and said, "While you're at it, could please explain why your probes keep trying to scan our cats? It's making them scared, and I promise you that you don't want to do it. Take care of angry cats during the Galactic Deathworld's emergency meeting. As association was, there was a fantastic dance party in a weapons factory, which is to say, Chancellor Ningnara yelled as he paced across the chamber floor. They must be hiding how strong their military really is. Ambassador Yixel said that no species could visit space while being so casual. Memeable offered another delegate, which made Nyx Satara very angry. Demeter finished snapping her third ceremonial staff of the day. While Zexer was still tending to his wound, Pride spoke up from behind him. Reinforce chair. Then, let's make them show what they can do, I say. According to the old rules of battle, we issue a formal challenge. The chamber erupted in approval. Roars, screeches, and one very excited explosion from the fantastic representative 24 hours later. On Earth, the Dagalaman, together, the Galactic Deathworlders Association's fleet, set up an attack formation above Earth's major cities. Attention, humans! Chancellor Nara's voice boomed across the room for the first time since the Great Buffer incident of the previous cycle. All frequencies, we challenge you to show what a Death World species you are worth. Pick your champions in your method of battle. The response showed up almost right away on the view screens of all ships. It showed a big hammock. The arena was full of people cheering, and in the middle was a table with 2 chairs. Dr. Chen waved to the council members and said hello, a t-shirt that said, "I met aliens and all I got was this lousy diplomatic incident," and was worn with pride. In order to win the contest, you have to eat as many hot wings as you can. Jaws shook in confusion. Yeah, like chicken wings covered in sauces that are getting more and more spicy. Last one. Let people win. It's being shown live on all channels, and the bets are already worth a few $billion. Credits. The council members looked at each other confused. They thought there would be calls for ship-to-ship combat or maybe ritual ground warfare, not eating chicken. This is an outrage. Zex Thor slammed his crystal fist on "We want a proper military confrontation," which Dr. Chen shrugged off and said, "Oh, we already had that while you were away." We're telling each other to check their secondary systems. All of a sudden, every ship in the council fleet found that their weapons didn't work. Protection shields and main power systems were replaced in a quiet way with an Earth entertainment streaming service most nights. Now they had a song on repeat called "Never Going to Give You Up." When Nick Satara sputtered, "We got bored," while we were waiting for you to finish your dramatic speech, Dr. Chen told us that our AI systems thought it would be funny to have a... Anyway, those hot wings were just a weird joke. The council had no choice but to choose a Crimson as their champion, a warrior whose species could literally eat metal. They were horrified to see he went up against a human champion, a small woman who said she was just your average hot sauce TikTok girl. The contest was shown all over the galaxy, and as the rounds went on, the sources got hotter, but the KTH warrior kept his cool. Honor until level 3, which humans consider mild, when his exoskeleton started to change colors quickly by level 5. Things were getting interesting. He was desperately calling for medical help. Ambassador Wyeth asked, how was this possible? Champion hadn't even broken a sweat. Our sensors are picking up those sources as chemical weapons. Oh yeah, Dr. Chen said with a smile, until you try our Indian restaurants, Thai food, or that sushi at the gas station, but hasn't killed anyone yet, even though their champion was taken away. On a stretcher, and babbling about how the end of the universe's heat death would be less painful, the council got another shock. The fleet's tactical displays lit up with alerts that they were being surrounded by a huge group of human ships. It looked like they had been there the whole time. Don't worry about those, Dr. Chen said with a wave. That's just the welcome. We have pizza, tacos, and something called a turducken for your party. We thought you might like them too. You were able to beat us militarily the whole time. Nara's voice was barely audible. Well, yeah, but... Since your crews seem much more interested in our cats, what's the fun in that? Which would you like to talk about? Watch videos of my new kitten before anyone could answer. Every screen in the council fleet was showing videos of... Admiral Whiskers is the name of the little orange cat that is playing with a toy spaceship. Dr. Chen was very proud of the fact that it had already destroyed 3 of our drone ships while we were playing. It was our Galactic Deathworlders Association's chief of space defense, and they were facing both military defeat and, because they were so cute, they did the only thing they could think of. They asked for the buffalo wing recipe. Following the hot wing incident, the council called for a formal inspection of Earth to find out what kind of death world it could be. To make these scary creatures, Dr. Chen was more than happy to help, but the alien delegates were left wondering if they were crazy by their choice of tour destinations, which Dr. Chen announced. Happily is what we call a public gym. The council members were horrified to see people voluntarily lift repeatedly moving heavy things for no clear reason, other than personal, social, or for satisfaction. They're purposely tearing their muscle fibers. Ambassador YXL's voice shook. For fun and games. This is nothing, Dr. Shen said with a grin. Wait until I show you CrossFit. Chancellor Niara, who insisted on leading the inspection herself, scribbled quickly on her pad of paper. Species purposely put stress on their bodies to get stronger. It's interesting, disturbing, and fascinating. Look at what we do for fun. Dr. Chen kept leading them to their next stop. This is called the aliens watched as people strapped themselves into metal contraptions that shot them through the air at an amusement park. They are being tortured because they are screaming and laughing at the same time at high speeds. Zor asked about devices, and I hope that people will pay a lot of money for them. That reminds me, who wants to go skydiving tomorrow? The fanatic representative immediately blew up in fear, making a sound. Far away, the tour went on, with each stop being stranger than the last. Visited a spice market where people were handling chemicals that could have been used as weapons. They saw kids playing in the snow and surfers riding waves that could break crystal exoskeletons. Nick Satara asked how they were able to live in temperatures that would freeze ionic fluids. Watching people eat something called ghost peppers for likes on social media isn't something your species is naturally good at. All of this, that's kind of our whole point, Dr. Chen said, ordering what he called a triple espresso, and it wasn't the strongest or fastest coffee he had all day, because we had to adapt to survive the cold and come up with heating that was too weak to lift something, make a lever, can't fly, make airplanes. Hell, we got tired of the natural challenges our planet gave us and started coming up with new ones, like these ghost peppers. Asked why exactly what we did, we took perfectly normal plants. They chose to make them hotter because why not? The council members watched as a group of humans nearby took part in something called a Tide Pod Challenge for your species. Natara became more and more horrified as she realized that you don't just survive your death world, you make it more difficult. Talking about difficulties, Dr. Chen asked, who's up for a challenge? Something called gas station sushi, and a number of council members quickly asked for an emergency evacuation as the topic. As the day went on, they learned more disturbing facts about people. People could live in space for a short time. If they didn't have any protection, they could heal themselves from grievous wounds by being stubborn. Bukio showed them addicting substances like sugar and caffeine for fun. And now comes the really fun part. Dr. Chen also showed them data on global temperatures to show how the Earth's climate is changing, which is making everything worse. Do you know what we're doing about it? We're evacuating to a better place, as suggested by Zior. Hopefully, we're not figuring out how to fix it and making plans for colonies on planets that are even more dangerous. This time, Mars looks good. The year was a bit cool, there wasn't much of an atmosphere, and the deadly radiation should be fun, so the council delegation huddled together. It's possible that their species' different defenses are all going off at the same time because of stress. Tara was able to ask you if those cats you keep posting videos of are some kind of high-tech biological weapon. They are just cute little killers that we chose to live with because they are fluffy. Want to meet? Some of the fear almost led to an interstellar incident. Once the council members got back to their ships, they put together a report of their findings. Wasn't just a death world, it was a death world that had made a species so flexible, tough, and unknown to them. Danger was so appealing that they made their planet even harder, for fun at the end. And Satara wrote in based on her official report. Humans seem to be what you get when you mix a cockroach's instincts for survival with because one of the cats was very interested in killing itself. They got opposable thumbs, and then were sure that everything, molecular gastronomy, could be turned into a dangerous sport, she said with a pause. P.S. The substance in their coffee should be called a Class A psychotropic. I had 1 cup of compound and redesigned the propulsion systems for our whole fleet. In one last desperate attempt to keep their honor, the Galactic Deathworlders Association challenged humanity to a series of tests meant to show that they were better at evolution, which they did. Arm wrestling a black hole was the next thing on the agenda, which was announced by Zor as a radiation resistance challenge to a CGTH warrior. Stepped forward, his crystal body having been specially designed to handle high levels of radiation. A representative in what looked like a fancy jumpsuit showed up. "Is that all your protection?" Zior asked in shock. "Ah," the person said as they looked down at their suit. "This is just the prototype. The human not only made it through the radiation chamber alive, but also took selfies the whole time." During the whole process, the Fantic representative kept saying that the lighting wasn't good enough for Instagram. Show how adaptable their species is by showing off their explosion and reform technique. In response, humans showed off their brand new quantum phase shifter technology, which they had apparently made because Chancellor N. Satara rubbed her teeth in anger as she asked, "You mean to tell me that you thought that was cool? Built faster than light technology before you fixed the climate crisis on your planet. So yeah, Dr. Chen," shrugged now, showing off a shirt that said, "I made it through the council trials and all I got was this quantum entangled t-shirt space," was the military demonstration by the council, which was right there, looking very interesting, was just as embarrassing. They were proud to show off their most advanced warship, which could destroy small moons. The humans showed them they had set up their self-replicating nanite swarms to dance to music as an experiment. It's called Gangnam Style. "But that's not possible," Ambassador Yazel shot back. You don't even have a single species. You have hundreds of different nations. That means hundreds of groups are competing to make the coolest stuff. If Dr. Chen said, "You should watch us test our new zero-point energy reactor live if you want to see what happens when we work together." Streamed it with commentary from our AI comedy team, and the council members were stunned and silent as humanity showed off technology that made their most advanced weapons look like sticks with points on them. To make matters worse, they seem to be ignoring it, all as some kind of fun hobby that we don't get. Niara finally exhaled. "It's been said that you don't have any natural defenses or evolutionary advantages. You should have died out a long time ago. How did you become this?" Dr. Chen thought for a moment. Admiral Whiskers, who had somehow teleported onto the council flagship while she was petting her cat. "I guess we'll never know. Got the message that we are limited by our natural abilities? Because every time we found something we couldn't do, we came up with a way to do it anyway. Remember how we used to throw spears at mammoths until they got tired? We just followed them? The council members threw sticks at the huge animals until they passed out from exhaustion. Scary, but you know what's really fun?" Dr. Chen kept grinning. "We're pretty sure there are physics laws we haven't. The Galactic Deathworlders Association had to face the fact that they had found them and want to help us break them. When they met a species that didn't believe in universal constants, they did what made the most sense. When they were done, they suggested an immediate alliance, if only to keep people laughing so they wouldn't turn their frightening creativity against the rest of the galaxy. As the council fleet sailed away around the Earth, each ship's AI had been improved with human memes, and the crews were hooked on cat videos. Human AI art programs had changed the designs of weapons to make them look better. We're thinking of having an interstellar chili the next time Dr. Chen calls them to tell them to bring snacks. During the cook-off, the faster-than-light evacuation set a new record for speed. After a few months since the first contact, the galaxy had changed in ways that made quantum uncertainty look like it could be predicted. Galactic Deathworlders Association had what they said was a strategic reorganization, but it was really an understandable reply. Commander Clarabow stood in front of the council and read the latest report, which was full of paperwork. People have successfully set up colonies on Mars, Venus, and a number of Jupiter's moons. They call this practice. It must take hundreds of years to make these worlds habitable so they can be used for extra-galactic exploration. Asked Zyor, I hope they're not going to bother with terraforming. Natera nervously clicked her teeth together. They're just coming up with new ways to stay alive in dangerous places. They're calling it Hold My Beer. And watch this. The council chamber, which used to have war trophies on the walls, now had a wall of pictures of people who had died in battle, Facebook posts. Most of them cats, had been taken down, but no one was brave enough to do it. After finding out that Admiral Whiskers had gotten into their defense networks in some way, at least they're stuck in their own solar system. Ambassador Whiskers said, Dr. Chin's voice came over us. He appeared in the middle of the room from nowhere and everywhere thanks to humanity's new quantum logic training. They came up with tunneling teleporter technology because walking was getting old. How did you get in here? Nara was told this chamber has the highest security in the galaxy. Oh, we've seen that. Been able to get around your security since the beginning, Dr. Chen smiled as he wore a shirt that said, Shring as Cat is both dead and alive, but mostly just mad that we were being polite in the chamber. Zor's crystal's structure almost broke from shock as he fell silent to be polite. Well, you guys seemed... You should be proud of your defenses. Also, we didn't mean to upset you by telling you that humanity just voted to explore. What's on the other side of black holes? You want to come with us? We're bringing snacks. The fantastic representative didn't even bother getting back together after their panic. That's what you're telling us, Nick. Oh. Satara's voice shook as she said, all this time, while we were trying to scare you, we were really just worried about making you feel bad, Dr. Jen said. I mean, you guys worked so hard on your invasion fleet, it was kind of cute. As the full effects of what they were doing hit the council members, they looked at each other with anger. They hadn't been dealing with a primitive species that was surprisingly smart and strong. They were dealing with an advanced civilization that was treating them like hyperactive kids. If you'll excuse me, Doctor. Chen looked at his quantum watch. I need to get back to Earth. Today we're also testing our new drive to change reality. Whiskers is about to knock a cup off my desk in 3 dimensions at the same time. Before he disappeared, he smiled and said, oh, and next week we're having an intergalactic potluck. Bring whatever dishes your species makes. I think that our world champions in competitive eating are getting... Chancellor Nick Satara added 2 things to the official council records after he left because he was bored. The first was that Earth was moved it from Deathworld to please don't let them get on board World 2nd. And she added a personal note saying, in hindsight, we might not have been quite right when we said we were the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The most scary ones are the ones who don't have anything to prove and use technology to bend reality for fun, to kill time between cat videos, as if to make her point more clear. All of the AIs in council space started playing Never Going to Give You Up at the same time, a song that had become the galaxy's new official anthem in some way. On Earth, Admiral Whiskers hit a... People thought it was cute when a coffee cup fell off a desk and caused quantum changes in 7 different dimensions. They're online.